Hey, what's up, everybody? Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of the Hot Seat. We're going to get popping in just one moment. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Hot Seat. I am super excited to be in the building with these absolutely incredible people on tonight. So, as you're coming in, go ahead and let your friends, neighbors, and relatives know that we are live, and we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and also Instagram. We're also live in audio inside a Clubhouse. So, come on in and hang out with us on tonight. We're going to be spreading the wealth on all of our platforms, letting everybody know that we're live on tonight's show, and we're going to get this party started. Honey, do we submit during dating, or is it only after we say I do? Let me tell y'all something. This is going to be hot. I'm telling y'all, it's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. People are going to be acting up. We waiting on Dr. Woods to get on in here. His blood sugar ministries was in the low. He got to get himself together on tonight. I said, sir, drink you something, sir. Drink you something with some sugar in it and get on the platform, because the saints going to need you. Amen? Amen. So we're going to get this party started. I cannot wait to hear the shares and the takes on tonight. It is going to be popping hot up in here. I'm telling y'all, it's going to get stupid with this conversation tonight. So I'm super excited to welcome back our panelists from last week and to add some more troublemakers to the platform. My brother is in the building. My sister was here on last week, but now she brought her husband with her. And so hopefully this will help to kind of curtail her response on tonight. That's what the hope is. But who knows? You never can tell out here in these streets. I'm also waiting on Dr. Pratcher, aka Chris Pratcher, to manifest in that camera where Mitchell Pratcher is.
But I just he's not here tonight. He said
he coming in cold.
He's gonna come. He's not coming.
Is he scared? Is he scared?
No,
he don't want to submit.
Basically.
Oh, okay then. So we'll just deal with him later on.
Yeah.
We'll deal with him later on. We'll discipline him at another time. Amen. So anyway, I am really, truly, seriously, y'all, excited to be talking about this discussion on tonight. So make sure you guys tap in. Our panelists have also shared with their particular communities to let their communities know to come on in and hang out with us on tonight. And we get ready to have a dope conversation. It's going to be serious yet funny and intriguing, and all those things combined as we have this conversation about submission. Is it during dating, or does it happen after we get married? Do we even know what submission is? Do we even know why we submit? Do we even want to submit? Is it something that's really necessary while you're dating someone? How's a guy going to be able to determine if you're submissive or not? What is he really looking for to be able to determine that? And are we really giving that? Is that why we're not being married so often now? What's going on in the dating world? So we're going to be answering a whole lot of questions on tonight in regards to submission. But right now, we're going to do soft introductions, 30 seconds or less, so our panelists can tell you who they are and how you can connect to them. First and foremost, we're going to start off with my girlfriend, Latricia Davis, in the building on tonight. Latricia, go ahead and introduce yourself, my love.
Hello. I'm Latricia Clarissa Davis. I am the founder of the Girl Get Your Breakthrough movement, and also a pastor. I pastor alongside my husband, Apostle Garney Davis Jr. at Impacting Love Global Ministries, where we are on a mission to convey and display God's love to all people. We have been called to the marketplace, and that's where God has us positioned. And so I am so honored and excited to be here to have this conversation with everyone tonight. Glad to be back.
Awesome. My girl, my sister from another Mr. and Mrs. Can't y'all see the resemblance to Mitchell? Can y'all see the resemblance? Y'all see the nose, the lips, everything? Oh, we don't look alike? Oh, whatever. We'll talk to our parents about it. But anywho, let me introduce my homegirl to the stage. my sister from another Mr. and Mrs. Seriously. She literally is my sibling, like on real vibes, on real life. To Mitchell, go ahead and introduce yourself, love.
Hey, to Mitchell Pratcher here. I am actually kind of beefing up my nonprofit right now, Dream Release, which helps underserved communities that have been affected by redlining. I also help my husband with his apparel line, and that's kind of what we got shaking on tonight. And I also dabble in real estate.
That's what's up. It's the dabbling for me. I don't think you dabble in real estate. I think you're just saying that because you're on the camera. I don't think you're telling the truth. But we'll talk about that after the show. I don't want to be talking about people on the show, make people think that if you're not going to tell the truth about that, you're not going to tell the truth on the show. So I don't want to mislead people into thinking nothing else.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So my homeboy, the voice behind the magic, the bass guitar man in the building. Welcome in the bearded one himself, Jason Williams. Jay, what's up?
What's going on, Koffe? I am Jason Williams. I guess the simple things about me is I'm a businessman, I'm a musician, I'm also a minister, and I'm just glad to be a part of this conversation tonight.
Awesome stuff. And last but certainly not least, y'all, let me tell y'all what my sister did earlier today. I'm a snitch. I'm gonna go ahead and snitch. I was minding my own business. I was living my best life. And I so happened to see something that says you've been tagged. And I said, I wonder what happened that I've been tagged on today. It so happened to be the talk show day. So I knew it was something about the talk show. And so she over there, she's just talking about the show on tonight and everything. Just over here preaching and all that kind of stuff, all in the camera and everything. And then to Mitchell, she just calling out my government name over and over and over. And I said, is this what we doing now? I'm like Mary Jane Paul. Y'all seen me being Mary
Nobody
Jane.
does that.
Y'all know her name is Paulette.
Nobody does that.
Nobody call her Paulette in public. They call her Mary Jane.
Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that?
I said, why we gotta do this in front of company? Why?
In GM Pop. In GM Pop. We in GM Pop.
I don't even think most of y'all know my real name in the first place.
Correct. Right.
I'm just trying to understand why we got to do that,
Because she put my name on here last week. Did y'all see that? She put my name on here.
You in the petty ministry.
On here. One good turn
She's
deserves
being
another.
petty.
So she was Patty Betty. She was being Petty Betty there.
Right, Tip and Tap Ministries.
All right, petty to the tip.
Yes.
You coming in, all right, so go on and introduce yourself. You got 22 seconds.
Woo! Did you?
22
yes.
seconds.
Look, I'm Lady Rob, and I am the pastor of one LCC, multiple locations in multiple states. My husband, he'll talk for himself. Normally I talk for him, but I'm going to let him talk today. We do multiple things, multiple businesses. I have my own talk show. He has his own talk show. I am an author. We are writing a book this year, and God is doing amazing things while we are in the middle of the storm. Mm-hmm. We're both learning how to resubmit. So that's the topic tonight. Get ready, y'all.
Oh, so we got some non-submitted people up in the building. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. D. Rob, what's up, D?
Hey, check it out. I'm going to fill in the blanks. Okay.
I don't even know how to interpret what you just said.
Oh, that was good.
I'm going to fill in the blanks. So,
that was good.
Yes, I am Bishop Rob. We're one LCC. We do a lot of everything, transportation, from transportation of people to goods to services. If you can put it on a bus, train, car, truck, we do it. We believe in just transportation.
Right.
That's what we do. That's our
All right,
background.
so your 22 seconds is over.
She was like already.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. I'll get it back later.
She don't want to submit.
I'll get it back later. Don't worry about it. I'll get it back later. Don't worry about it.
And let Doc come in and get her.
I love it here. I told y'all it was going to be a hot mess tonight, y'all. I already tried to warn y'all. So we got Doc Woods in the building. Hey, Doc Woods, you didn't grow a beard?
Man, what's good? You didn't know since last week. It didn't like just magically appear. I'm saying I
didn't see that last week.
I didn't have soul glow. I didn't put some soul glow.
I don't remember all this soul glow last week.
I don't remember that.
No, you ain't have.
I don't remember any of that.
You ain't have all that last week.
First of all, it takes me 22 days to grow a beard in the first place. I can't just grow it overnight.
Did you
You
just
did.
calculate
You
it?
did something.
Did you just calculate it?
Yeah, because I got this baby face. It takes a while.
Anyway,
Okay, I'm gonna go on mute.
anyway,
I'm
we
gonna go back
all
on
going
mute.
on mute. We all going on mute on that.
So, I'm Doc Woods, the infamous one himself, the comic book geek life all day, every day. I'm also a world-renowned author, thanks to my girl P. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be like y'all when I grow up, do the little old dance. My kids say I'm old, but to y'all I'm young, and I'm here to behave today in my virginal status.
Don't nobody believe that but you. Nobody believes that at all.
You coming in lying?
Yeah, I mean, that's not.
Why I gotta be a whole
not the
liar?
truth.
This is the
That
hot
is
seat.
not the
Okay.
truth.
Why I gotta be a whole liar? You know what I'm saying?
It's not submission.
We ain't even started, and you lied already.
Like you could have said, I told a fib. You know what I'm saying? I told a white lie, but y'all were just like a whole liar.
No, we black, so it would have been a black lie.
No, it's a lie.
You could have been liar, pants on fire, something.
Y'all, welcome in tonight. We are coming in with our commercial break before we get started on tonight, but we're coming in with a great conversation tonight. So the question on the table is, do we submit during dating or only after marriage? Only after we say I do. Submission just really means that I'm under a submission. Somebody has a mission and I'm under that sub. I'm a subheader, basically a vice president, a chairperson, whatever you want to call it. I'm underneath, I'm submitted to a mission, a bigger picture, if you will. So it's a bigger picture, and then there's all these different moving parts to the bigger picture. And so you have the husband, you have a wife, you have children, and then you have those different levels that manifest from those various roles in a monarch, in an actual, I can't think of the word right now, it escapes me, but in the kingdom, if you will. You've got the rulers, and then you have those who are direct subordinates to the rulers. And then the list goes, the hierarchy goes down the line from there. So the question on the table is really an easy one, yet a complex one. What happens with submission? How does a guy even really know if you are a submitted woman? What are the telltale signs of a woman who's submissive? What is the telltale signs of a woman who is not? Is there something that really manifests during dating, or is it going to happen after marriage? Is there a such thing as submission before marriage? Where did that even come from? Even the idea of that before marriage. So of course, we're going to start with the men first. We're gonna be submissive, and we're gonna start with the men. We're gonna listen to what the men have to say before we say something. We're gonna come in hot after that. And since Jason Williams already cutting up, we're gonna start with Jason Williams. Jason, does submission start during dating, or does it come after marriage?
Well, I'll say it like this, since you're asking, and I am a preacher. The Bible says that a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. So if you're a wife before I marry you. So then if you're submissive before I marry you. The problem, though, in my mind, is definition of submission. Because I think a lot of us have it misconstrued. Because the Bible tells us specifically to be submissive one to another. So if I'm to be submissive to you and you're supposed to be submissive to me, that's a shared submission. And I think a lot of women take that as a negative when they say, are you submissive? Because if I'm submissive to God and you're following me as I follow God, then your submission to me is really your submission to God, if I'm following God from a biblical perspective. Now, naturally, if you don't have God in your situation, then whatever your definition of submission is, y'all got to figure that out. Because that's going to be a whole nother conversation that y'all have to deal with. But from a biblical standpoint, submission isn't something you learn after you get married. It's either who you are prior to, Well, not saying, let me back up, because you can learn it after you get married if you have the mindset to do that. Today's society doesn't allow for us to be, because we're learning to be so independent that we forget how to be interdependent. We forget how to lean on each other. We forget how to embrace each other and understand that we need each other. And I'll just leave it like that. I'm sorry. I don't want to take too much time.
No, you made a whole bunch of points just now. So we gonna go over to Doc Woods, because he looked like he got a whole lot to say with this beard that grew from 28 days or 27 days or something like that. And we saw it last week and it wasn't looking like that. But go ahead, Dr. Woods.
Well, maybe I need to trim it up, you know. Well, my first thought is I think the word submit has been perverted through the ages. To submit does not mean you're enslaved. It does not mean like you do not have a voice or a choice in what happens in your life. To submit, you're saying that I am willing to follow my man. And if you married this person, you chose this person, right? And you cannot follow them, that's the problem in the first place. So if I'm dating you and I have a vision for our relationship and I'm going down the path that you would like me to go and you can't follow me along, that is a problem. So why should I marry you? Right? Because I always say something. One time I told this young lady, we were eating lunch in school when I was a teacher, and I was like, well, I didn't get married to cook, you know, meaning, you know, when I got married, I wanted somebody who could cook. And she was like, so why she gotta cook? Why she gotta clean? She gotta stay at home and be, you know what I'm saying, do all this and do all this. And I said, well, if I have to cook, I can love you and have sex with you from my own house. We don't have to have our house. And I'm not meaning that's what I think of all women just have to do, but everybody has a role. You know, if my brother, he likes to cook. So guess in his relationship, guess what he does? He cooks. You know what I'm saying? His woman does something. I got another friend, his woman handles all the travel. So he submits to her decisions when it comes to the travel, right? And so if you cannot submit to whatever my role is, if my role is paying the bills and I say we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and every time I say that, you have a problem with it, then what kind of relationship are we having? I might as well stay on my own. I'm saying I might as well make my own decisions for me, because you can't even accept my leadership when it's my turn to lead. So bow down, ladies.
You know what? See, that's where you was fine till you said that. You had all the ladies in the audience talking about praise God. God bless you. He coming in hot. He's a man of God. And then you said that foolishness, and everybody said, no, he need to go back home. We done.
Y'all knew that was coming. Y'all knew that was coming.
Look, Jason, what we didn't know was the bow down part. I mean, come on now, King Tut. Oh, Lord. We're coming over to you, Donald. Can you help a brother?
All right.
Help redeem the fellas right now, because
I'm about to bring it back right now. We're about to bring it back. I'm about to really do it. So listen, submit. When you think about submit, first you got to understand submit means to give. You have to give. When you submit something, you give to whatever it is you're applying for, whether it be a job, whether it be a person, whether it be anything that you submit to, that means you're willing to give it to them so they can handle it. Okay. Submission is something a little different, because now that's an act of doing something where it's a verb, not just a noun, because submission doesn't always mean that you have to be underneath, but you're part of the mission that's going on. In marriage, when you submit to your husband and husband submit to the wife, it's not that you're being in control. It's that we're going to follow each other as we're going through this thing together. Now, the question is it just in dating or in marriage? Well, it all depends. Because if you know where you're going before you get married, then you understand what it is you need to do to submit or become submissive to further the relationship to get to that next level if you're dating. In marriage, if you're already married, then y'all should already have a plan and y'all submit to one another. It's not one person being in control. Just like the brother said earlier, Doc Woods, one person does travel better, the other one does cooking better. Okay, so they submit to to the strength of one another. And that's all it is.
So let me ask you this then, Lady Rob, since I want to make sure I say the right name on the show tonight, so we won't have no issue.
Thank you, Pete Coffee, Thank you, Pete Coffee.
On the show. Siblings, okay. Donald said something, and I wanted to hear your take on what he just said. He talked about submission prior to talking about submitting, basically when I give something, right? But what he did not say was that it happens on his end. He didn't say that until after the marriage, where he talked about we both do it unilaterally, if you will. So let me ask you a question without you, giving up too much information. With you being in the law and everything, we don't want to record something that may come back to incriminate you, where we can go back and watch a replay or something. So when you guys were dating and you were getting to know each other and you were building that foundation for the couple hours that y'all did, because y'all got married kind of fast.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Never mind. I'm going to ask somebody else. Don't even worry about it. That ain't even.
Hey, they wanted to hold the ceremony of marriage. They were trying to wait until they got married.
Don't even worry about. Don't even.
My
worry
brother
about
can only wait 3 weeks.
We're not even gonna ask them the
I'm
question.
just saying.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
Hey.
I'm just.
We can't even ask them the question. Okay.
No, I'm gonna answer the question.
She'll answer the question. Go ahead, let her answer the question.
You can't answer the question from 3 weeks.
Yes, you can.
I can.
You'll be surprised.
Why can't? It's been 21 years.
Yes, you'll be surprised.
I think I got the answer.
Well, true.
I got a whole bunch of relationships that hold out for a year and 2 years and 3 years, and then when they get married on the 5th year, by the 6th year they divorce. I think we did all right for 3 weeks.
You show right.
They remained pure that whole time too. That was a long time to wait. 3
You know what?
It was hard.
It was
hard. It was hard.
Dr. Woods. It sounds like he hates, because y'all know that his wife made him wait for a year. But anyway, back to you.
Okay, all righty.
Don't get sensitive. Don't get sensitive. But like, seriously.
No, seriously.
When it comes to
I was not submissive. As a matter of fact, I still struggle, honestly. My people will see this later. They know my story because I tell it a lot, even when I travel. I was not submissive. I have a hard time with submission due to my history, right? And so sometimes, even though we want to do better, we don't always know how to do better until we become that better. So based on what I knew prior to marrying my husband, my second marriage. And so I didn't get the first one right. So I was going to do that. I did it in the first marriage. I cleaned, I cooked, I did all of that. And I said, no, that ain't my life. I want to be a business entrepreneur. This is where I'm at right now. And so I wasn't at that space when we got married. Now it grew over the years, and I'm like Doc was saying, I take care of I do most of the traveling. I do a lot of things like that. My husband does most of the cooking. He does all of the laundry. So we have look at Doc's face. But listen, this is why I'm saying it, right? Because it is important. When he met me, I was taking my laundry to my mother, honestly. All of it. He don't, yeah. I'm not joking. Or taking it to the laundromat, dropping it off. I was not a domestic type individual. So for domestic being, that wasn't me. I didn't even want to be that. And then as time grew, I learned how to submit to him in the ways that he needed me to submit to him. That cooking wasn't what he needed for me to submit to. He needed me to sit down and we to work together for ministry because we both pastored. It was things that God placed in his life, or that morals or values that he had in his own life that he wanted to achieve. So now I work with him in transportation. I always say I'm the boss, but guess who get the check? It ain't me. So I'm learning. And I do believe submission is a continuing process. Because as you grow in marriage, most of the people who are married on here, years after years, you change. And maybe your level of submission or what you're submitting to changes. I yield the floor. P. Koffe Brown.
You know what? We see how we do. You see how we do, Latricia? You see what we deal with after the scene to Mitchell? You see what we deal with? It's called FAMILY, family. That's how it is out here in these streets.
But
So we
why
got
do
Andrew.
ladies get married? That's a question. Why do ladies get married if they're not? You don't see a vision with this man. Why do y'all get married?
It's a whole bunch of different reasons to answer that question. I mean,
I wouldn't marry a man without vision.
That's a loaded question to answer.
It really is.
Absolutely. Why a woman would? Let me tell you why a woman would do it. She the eggplant sausage ministries is on point. The boy is laying down the pipe, beating her brains out in the bed. She don't care. She literally that he's giving her that kind of gratification to where he driving her crazy, so she don't want nobody else with that sausage. Let me go and marry him.
See, but that's
stability.
why submission is a problem.
You asked the question.
I know, but that's why submission is a problem, because you're marrying him for the ding dong instead of where is he going to take me in 10 years.
Listen,
you see what I'm saying?
Listen,
or the
marriage. Some of the daughters
marriage, you on Tinder looking for somebody to look for you more than sex. You want somebody to help you provide.
I got what you're saying, but some of the daughters, the sausage ministries, got them coming in hot. And they don't care whatever else that boy got going on. He could be crazy as 4, 5, 10 decibuds, not be stable, inconsistent, not working, but he laying down that pipe, and that's what's driving them to stay in that relationship. We know it's not,
but the cannon buster don't pay no bills.
Listen, some of the daughters don't care about the cannon buster. Not he dropping her off at work.
Yeah, okay? I said cannon buster.
Okay. Don't let me get started on that, Doc. Don't you let me get started. I'm going over to my girl, Angie Renee. She wasn't able to be on the live stream with us, but I want to hit her up in Clubhouse really quickly before we go to my sister, Latricia, and to Mitchell. So, Angie, are we dating? Are we submitting and dating, or are we waiting until we say I do?
I think you definitely should submit to some form in dating, for sure. That's just my personal opinion, because you need to show something. Now, there probably are some things that you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be doing the most, right? You shouldn't be just going overboard as if you are already the wife or if you are already the husband, but you need to show something so that person or your significant other know what they are looking forward to, right? So this shouldn't be anything like, oh, I ain't doing nothing until I'm married. Well, you got married me, or you know what I mean? I think when we get caught up like that, we're not enjoying the moment and really showing the other person who we really are, or even who we really could be, right? So for me, I believe that submission is just simply yielding, because if you ask any person if they are submitting to their, career or, their business, their job, whatever you want to call it, then they'll have a whole nother explanation. They're not going to make it deeper than what it is. And it just, I believe that the word, for whatever reason, Koffe, it just, some people, not all, but some people look at it as negatively. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. But I think if you just view it as something that's yielding, it's more, I submit to you, you submit to me, and it's not subservience. I think that's the issue, Koffe. I think people look at it as a more subservient type of thing when it's really more, it's kind of like a more of an interdependent thing, right? A give and take from both parties. So again, to answer your question, yes, I think there needs to be some level of submission during dating for both the man and the woman.
I love it. Subservient. Let's go to you, Latricia, and let's talk about that. That's a good way to think about it. I think people have an issue with thinking that they're going. It's almost like they kind of feel in their brain that it's still the same thing that happens at work. I got to submit to my boss. I got to submit to what somebody else is telling me to do. Every time I turn around, somebody's telling me what to do, and I don't want to be told what to do. I want to be able to have an equal stake in this particular experience. And I said to myself the other day, I said, well, what would be a good word, alternative word to use as opposed to submission, if you will? And I said catering. Catering to your man would still be submission without saying the S word, if you will. It's on you, Latricia.
So I think that when we look at submission in itself, like we've been defining that, what submission looks like. I'm going to do perspective of dating first and then transition over to marriage. In dating, first of all, submission is a beautiful thing when you are in alignment with destiny, purpose, and vision for your life. So on the dating journey, when dating, if you are not certain and you don't have clarity about the direction, I think Doc said that earlier, you don't have the direction about where you're going in a relationship, submission is not for you. So there were times in my singleness that I dated, but there was not a submission because I reserve submission for my husband. Because Ephesians tells us, wives, submit to your husband. And so, because I understood that submission to my husband was something that I had to reserve specifically for him, it wasn't something that I just offered up freely. Now, in terms of having a mutual respect, having honesty and integrity in the relationships, I was going to do that because that's just who I am. But when I met my husband and we started to date, and I knew that he was looking at becoming more than just my best friend, that he was really pursuing me with a desire to marry me. He told me before I was going to be his wife. He knew that. God had already told him that. But in our dating, there were things that we were discovering about each other and learning about each other. And I had to get to know him and understand what he was called to do. He understood what I was called to do, because the truth is that I needed to know that this gift of submission, because it was a gift to me to give to my husband, because that's what I know I was reserving it for. I could appreciate that he was submitting to God. And he made it easy for me to submit to him because I saw his life and how he was living according to God's promises. So I could see him pray. I could see him go before God on behalf of his family. There were things that he was demonstrating that he was following Christ. Then I could automatically submit to him, even in dating, because we had an understanding of where we were going. And so what had been reserved for him, I freely gave to him, because I knew that my anointing he was going to cover me. He was going to release me. And a lot of women, y'all may have some problems with that, but I was in ministry before I met my husband, and I was traveling and I was preaching and teaching, and to go out uncovered, whoo, it's hard out there, right? Lady Rob, it's tough out there in the ministry world when you don't have covering. And so when my husband began to understand my mission and my purpose in the world, my destiny, and how I was ministering to women, he saw that as an opportunity to come alongside and say, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to cover you. And when you get the invitation, I want you to bring it to me, not so he could tell me what to do, but so that he could go to God, for me and with me to say, baby, this is the one, or I agree. So before I go on stage, anything I do, I ask my husband to pray for me and to release me. That is me willingly submit. Have there been times that he said, I really don't think that this is the right opportunity for you to God? And we talk about it. And if it's not, I'm not going to disrupt my home for a moment in time, because that's how important that family values are to me. And my covenant with my husband is more important than anybody else's opinion of my no to them. And so submission is voluntary, and it is a great opportunity for God's love to be demonstrated between you and your spouse. So I reserved submission, full submission to my husband when I was clear about the vision for our lives.
I love it. So we
I'm
have
about to pass the offering plate. Can I give us some
Go
money?
get it.
I'm like, I need to cash app you, Latricia. You showing out again.
So I'm going to yield over to my good friend and the real estate guru is in the building and clubhouse with us tonight, Jay Massey. So I want to ask him the question to get his viewpoint on this, and then we're going to head over to Mitchell to be able to hear her take on it. I love what Latricia said about the full capacity of submission did not manifest until after, and I do love what Angie said about the building blocks that even lead to your even innate desire to submit to someone in the first place. What is it that's going to what's going to be on the other side of me giving you this part of me opening myself to you in this capacity? Relationships are give and take. Let's keep it 100. I'm not going to submit to somebody who can't lead me somewhere. It wouldn't make cognitive sense as a woman to open myself up to somebody who doesn't even have the capacity to not only handle who I am as a woman, but to handle life in itself, in the full totality of what life has to bring when it comes to relationships is way bigger than you saying, "Oh, I got the bills." Yeah, but that's only one component of it. So I want to yield over to Jay Massey to ask him the question: do we submit during dating, or is it only after we say "I do"? And is it on both sides of the spectrum? Is it the men to the women and the women to the men, or is it more so the women to the men? Jay Massey, I yield to you.
That's a very interesting question that you're asking there, Koffe. So, are you trying to get me in trouble? Start a fight? What's up?
The replays are off, Jay Massey. It's okay.
It's okay.
You're in a safe place. You're in a safe place.
That's funny. That's funny. No, I don't know that the moniker of dating or I do or marriage is required either way. It's a in a relationship of any kind situation. If I am the leader, which is likely to be, I am first and foremost a servant. I mean, that's what it takes to lead. So I must, to understand the condition of my flock, if you will, and or anything that is entrusted to me, I must be willing to serve, therefore submit to it, to understand what it is that I've been given and or entrusted with. No matter what type of relationship it is, there's no need for me to be resistant if I have an intent on fulfilling my we'll say God-given rightful place as leader. It's what I'm going to do regardless, and I have to learn to serve. I don't know how to learn to serve a person without submitting. I have no idea how you would manage to do that, because unless I understand your likes, dislikes, preferences, and whatnot, and then lead accordingly, it's not going to go. We're not getting very far, no matter what it is. So it's been my experience that if I do that, the rest of it tends to take care of itself.
That makes perfect sense to me. I'm going to yield over to Mitchell on that point. To Mitchell, is on you, love.
I think that the beautiful thing about dating is that in dating, you actually have a choice in the matter when it comes to being able to, you have a choice. But it's like when you get married, it becomes a mandate. So I think what happens is between that gap between dating and marriage, and the question is with our audience, a lot of the guys and women may not have a huge relationship with God. So what does that look like? What does submission look like outside of somebody who's not practicing faith right now? Because I know that's what we talk about. But I really loved what Bishop said. And when he said that, to me, it would be like, let's just submit to each other's strengths. I really like that, because it's like, okay, where's the actual blueprint if you're not submitting or you don't have that kind of relationship with God? Okay, well, what blueprint are you? So I would say, like a lot of the people on here, if you see, like Doc said, if they have the vision, this with men and women, because women can take men places that they've never been before either. And men can take women where they've never been places before either. But I often think that we talk about lead, and it's often tied to masculinity, but there's a certain leadership that women have when it comes to men in certain areas. You know what I mean? So I just feel like the submission is always kind of leaning towards what the woman should do, but I really think it's just for both people. And I appreciate the stories, and I think it's wonderful like how we're talking about this from many different angles with many different lenses on the same camera. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I feel like that both parties are responsible for not so much as following each other, but like they say, yielding to each other's strengths. I think that's super important. And I think in dating, does this person have a vision? Yes or no? And that will be your compass. Okay, well, I don't think I can rock with this. Let me go ahead and go. Because this person don't really got a plan for me. They ain't got no plan. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's so much to unpack with that. And to answer your question, Doc, about why people would get married to somebody that doesn't have a vision, a lot of people get married over potential of the vision. And a lot of times that potential doesn't come to fruition. So you have people that are in marriages because they saw potential in a person that they never met, that they never was able to see come to fruition. So that's to answer your question on that too.
And I'm glad that you said that, because that kind of piggybacks on what Jay Massey said about, when he said, if I'm going to be the person leading somebody, I got to know how I'm going to be able to lead them in full capacity. I've got to be able to yield to say, let me identify what's going to contribute to this person's happiness and peace along the journey. I can't just say, I'm gonna get in the car and just drive you somewhere, and then you gonna just go, or are we going to go together? Or you gonna say, no, you just get in the car, I'm just gonna take us, this is where we going.
We can't just figure it out. Right.
Yeah, why are we even going over there? That don't make no sense.
Right.
So I love the way he put it into that light. And then of course, when Bishop, it's so hard for me to say that, Bishop Donald, y'all pray for me now. That's my brother, so it's hard for me to say Bishop Donald. Y'all forgive me. Bishop Roberts, when he was talking about, the same thing as far as the strengths that bring relationships together. It's the same concept. If you guys have ever taken a personality test or a test to identify your strengths and what makes you at your best and highest use and what makes you most valuable to an organization or most valuable inside of this certain dynamic, if you will. We do it in the coaching space where you take these tests to say, hey, this is where you will be solid at, and this is where you're going to need support. So when you really contemplate and you consider that, well, if I'm solid right here, I'm going to need support right there. That's where that submission part comes in. I know I'm solid right here with the support that I need to submit to the fact that I need the support. I can't be strong in every capacity. That's humanly impossible. So I think even when you think about the word submission, we have to submit to the fact that we need some support in various areas of our life where there are defects, because we have strengths, and then we have areas of opportunity where we can grow, evolve, and become better. So I give you a perfect example. In my parents' marriage, my mother is horrible at finances. So my mother had to submit to my dad's leadership when it came to finances. She just is not a good money manager, period. My dad is stellar, pristine, but my mom is horrible when it comes to money management. She's like, give me the money, I'm going to spend it. That's all I know. Spend the money, period. Point blank in the discussion. And my mom, she learned that behavior from her rearing. So she was in one of those kind of dynamics where my grandfather brought the money home to my grandmother, and my grandmother utilized the resources for whatever the family needed. But my mother didn't see that part. All she saw was my mama had the money and she used it, period. But she didn't understand the trajectory of what that usage meant or the demand on being wise with the using. So all she took from that equation was, my daddy gave my mama the money, my mama spent the money, the end. And so that was a part of, my parents, when they first got married, when we were young, my mother and father used to go through these confrontations continuously when I was younger. My dad used to be like, hey, I thought I said, and she'd be like, well, I wanted to get this. And so after a while, I remember distinctly my mom going to my dad and saying, hey, this is not an area that I'm good in. I'm just going to get my hands off of it because I don't want to make you upset anymore. And I know I'm not strong here. So my mother literally said, let me yield, knowing this is an area where I need support so that it can strengthen the bigger picture, the bigger dynamic of what we want to do, which is to build a life, a legacy, and a destined experience together. So now here it is nearly 50 years later, and they still okay. They're still good. They literally owe no human anything. My parents are totally debt free. They have no debt at all. But had my mother continued to keep her hand in that pot, the story wouldn't have been the same. No
And
way.
see, I think, Koffe, that's where the conflict comes at, is because where submission gets messed up is because we try to make our partners good at what we're good at. And that's where we get frustrated, because it's like, okay, why aren't you good at time management? Why aren't you good at money? Like, damn, can you save $1? It's just something, so why that's where the frustration comes in. It's like, can you pick up this, or can you do that, or whatever? You're excellent in this area. I get an A in this class, but you bring home a D every quarter.
But in college, 1 second, Jay, I'm gonna yield over to you. In college, on a serious note, when I was in school, there was a class that I just was not good at. I was an A honor roll student. It didn't matter that I tried to do it. I did all I could. I got the tutoring, all that kind of stuff. I just was not good at this particular class. So guess what I had to do? Invest in somebody else to support me, because that class was required for me to get my degree. It was not an option. So instead of me trying to keep navigating through and saying, oh my God, and keep doing that and understanding on the other side of that, I would have failed. That was a negative for me. Let me go ahead and go over here and yield to this person to submit, to go ahead and do what I got to do so I can continue to maintain this A average and get this piece of paper that I'm paying dearly for. Okay. So
and you submitted to the fact that you weren't good in that area. You submitted to that.
And I didn't try to act like I was going to be good in it. Because guess what? Some things, let's just keep it a buck. You don't want to be good at it. If you got somebody else that's good at it, why do I have to master what you're the master of? I don't need to master that. Not if you already mastered it and I can rely on you to maintain that mastery. That's not my area of expertise. I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to do it. And that's where that dynamic of the relationship comes in, where communication is going to be pristine, unless it's an expectancy of your partner that you grow in that particular area. But I'm going to yield to Jay Massey real quick, and I'll get back to you, Adrian. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, interestingly, you were just about, or at least I think you were just about to hit on where I'm going with the comment that I was going to make. Because while yes, it can be a challenge to yield when you are weak at something, I think the greater challenge is to yield when you believe you yourself to be the stronger individual in a thing. Specifically, he, meaning me, inside of a relationship, am the one that is tasked with leading, per se. Now, with that, because the way men learn, we learn by trial and error, for lack of a better way of putting it. We go, we try something, it doesn't work, we come back, we plan, do review, and then go try again and again until we bump our head and get it right. And yes, you may have known the more efficient, better, greater way from the beginning, but you will injure that man in a almost irreparable way by forcing your will and or way, even if you are superior in skill in that area. And what I see or find is that because it's far more challenging then to yield and let someone who is leading you make a few mistakes, cost you some money, cost you some time, cost you some heartache, some emotion, some dear Lord Jesus, please increase my faith. Those are the times when, if you desire for him to continue to love you, and deeply so, those are the times when your yielding will bear some of the greatest fruit, because it's not lost on him that, yes, it didn't go well. He made a mistake, but it is your grace and space that will make all of the difference regarding of will he be willing to grow. And again, just reference Romans 14. It's okay for someone's faith to be weak, but for those of us who can eat meat, we are not to, poke at those who consider it something to not be touched. And these are the things that I see with it as challenges. When we think ourselves strong, we go, well, why would you not want me to be the one? What's wrong with, but that's not what that person needs. And we don't know what God is intending for that man or person to become. And the way a person becomes strong, God's been growing humans for quite a while, pretty good at it. So he knows exactly how much weight to give that person. They won't break, or is your faith in God so weak that you must take over? Is really the question that tends to happen and where things fall apart. I yield.
Ooh, go ahead. Somebody had their mic open. I think it was Jason.
I had my hand up. I had my hand up and everything.
Go ahead, Doc. Let Doc go.
Go ahead,
He
Doc.
got his hand up. Let him go,
Man,
Jason.
y'all just
And
be
then,
mistreating the
Lord,
brother like
can
I'm
y'all
a
please
child.
just let the doctor go? Because let the doctor.
You see how I submitted to your
Yes, I
rules?
saw it. I saw it. I saw it. Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
But here's my question of thing. Submission, we got to think about it. Ultimately, it comes down to trust. Do I trust you to do what you say? Do I trust you to make the correct decisions? And that lack of trust in our community is lacking. I'm saying we don't trust our teachers. We don't trust the police. We don't trust the mayor. But then we'll go to our job and trust that person to tell us what to do. But we can't go home and trust our mate and submit to them. Because I'll tell you a story, right? So when my kids were younger, we weren't making as much money as we do now, you know, in our 20s. Everybody thinks you balling in your 20s and you not. You're saying you pole. And so my wife, she was basically working to pay for daycare. We're actually losing money by the kids going to daycare. So I was like, hey, why don't you stop working, take care of the kids, you know, and then when the kids are older, go back to work, you do what you have to do. Man, I remember she had a hissy fit and a half. Why I gotta quit? Why don't you quit working? Da 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 da. Gave my poor head a headache. And I had to sit down and say, look, you know, I make this much money, you make this much money. It doesn't make sense. But then when she actually submitted and trusted my vision, I'm saying she actually started like being at home, like the time with the kids. And then when the kids got older, guess what she got to do? Now she's back at work doing better than ever. We have more money, right? And like when they're little, I wipe butts, I did all that, but that wasn't my thing. I said, hey, babe, hold them down when they small. When they get older, daddy turn, right? So now guess what? She'd be like, bye, baby. And I'm the one out here chasing these teenagers around the street. I'm the one out here fussing and yelling at kids. But she had to trust me to do what I say. So when you meet a mate, if you can't trust me before we're married, or you can't show that you can trust me before then, but that's a two-way street. I have to be trustworthy. You know what I'm saying? I have to do what I say I'm going to do. I have to be where I say I'm going to be to earn that trust, so you are able to submit to me knowing that I'm going to do the right thing, like I always do.
Did y'all hear him say always? Did y'all hear that part? Why
He
is
did.
it before he closes his mic? Every
It's the
time
closing,
Get right
right? It's
past
the
it.
closing that
I'll get
always
right
gets
past
him
it.
in trouble.
Why is
Go
Always.
ahead.
Why
Go
is
ahead,
it
Jason.
closing every
Go
time?
ahead, Jason. Just go ahead, Jason. It's fine.
I feel
Go
some
ahead.
hate in the room.
Go ahead,
Next time I'm wearing the shirt and say, I feel the hate in the room.
Well, all right. I think Lady Rob said something earlier, and when we communicate, we try to meet the other person's need in conversation. Because if you're talking about something and I respond, but it doesn't meet your need or answer the question that you're asking, then I didn't communicate with you, right? So with that being said, when we communicate in this situation, we need to be willing to submit the way the other person needs to be submitted to. Because a lot of times we come in with an ideology of the roles we play, an ideology of how we're going to submit to our spouse and what's going to happen in the relationship. And when you get that spouse, it's not exactly how you thought it was going to be. So now you have to define the terms of your submission. You have to define the terms of your spouse's needs. Because let's just say, okay, I cook, right? So I have no problems cooking without issue. That's one of my strengths, because my mom made sure me and my brothers, we could cook no matter what. Because she was like, y'all gonna be good husbands. I don't care. Ain't nobody gonna come in my house and tell me my son's a bad, husband or whatever. So in her mind, it was, I'm gonna teach you to do everything I do. Like, all right, cool. So we do all of that. My wife was raised in a home where her grandmother told her, get out the kitchen. So she didn't cook. So in our relationship, that wasn't an issue for me. So I don't need you to submit in the kitchen. I can handle that by myself. I don't need you to submit with doing the laundry. I could do that myself. I need you to submit where I need you to support me, like you said. And it's not necessarily my weakness. It's not necessarily my strength. See, I think we make submission about strength and weaknesses, and it's not always about strength and weaknesses. And I believe Jay was just saying something about that. It's not always about strength and weaknesses. You submitting to me is supporting me. You're supporting me in an area that I need support. I'm supporting you in an area where you need support. So I'm submitting me, the person, to you, as you're submitting you, the person, to me. That's why when I said earlier, if I'm submitted to God, there's no way in the world I could not be submitted to you, because the greatest among them are servants. How can I not be a servant to you? There was one thing I was watching years ago with what's the man's name? Shoot. In Atlanta, or used to be in Atlanta. Can't remember the preacher's name now. Can't save my life. But he was talking to Waka Flocka and his wife. And he told them
about Creflo Dollar.
Was it Jamal?
No, it was
Creflo Dollar.
It was Creflo.
Yep.
Yeah, Jamal's new. He only been there a couple of years.
No, it was Creflo Dollar. When they were having marital problems, he was talking to them.
When they were having marital problems, he told Waka Flocka and his wife at that time, he said to them, and I've never forgotten it because it just stuck out to me. He said, as a husband, your job is to submit everything about you to her, no matter how she treats you. And he said to the wife, he said, your job is to submit everything to your husband, no matter how he treats you. Because the reality is, and the reason why he said that is because if you're focused on the good of what you're doing for the other, you never see the bad. You never focus on that. And it creates a relationship where the other person doesn't want to do bad, because I'm focused on how good I am to you. You're focused on how good you are to me. Because a lot of times we focus on those little things that drive us apart. And if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's really just a little thing. And if you really pay attention, that's where I'm starting to preach. That's where the devil comes in, and we end up at odds with each other. But if you look at it, it's this big compared to the full scheme of life. And we allow little things to come in and create problems, like the word submission. It's just a word. It ain't good or bad. It's just a doggone word. When you realize it's just a word, and my relationship to you is bigger than that word, my relationship with you is bigger than those little things that I think, well, I think you should be doing this. Okay, but I don't. So now what? What you gonna do? I don't do that. So we have to come to a level of understanding about each other and communicate well and submit to whatever it is in our relationship. Because even like Tim Mitchell said, if I'm not in a godly relationship, but I'm in a relationship, we still have to submit. If we can do it for everywhere else, when you're in school, you submit. When you're at work, you submit. Let the police walk up on you, you're going to submit. So why can't you submit to each other when you're in a relationship?
Can I just jump in real quick, Jason? I appreciate, you even bringing that point up, because as I was sitting here, it reminded me of a situation where, I was super independent. And this is for all of my independent sisters who are bosses at work, and you handling it. You've been raising your children, doing everything you need to do as a single woman, and you just dominating, right? You doing your thing. And then God brings your king to you. And now the transition happens where you are learning how to submit. One of the things and that was me, just being real transparent. One of the things that, I learned while we were dating, and of course, having those conversations and that keeping the lines of communication open, I was putting off having a medical procedure, and my husband was like, why are you worried about it? I'm like, because they said I'll be down for a couple weeks, and, getting up and doing everything. I got a lot going on, trying to manage, my sons in school and all this. He was like, you got to go ahead and do it, because you need to make yourself a priority. And so I was scared. I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to release all of the things I'm doing to him. We were still dating. I was like, what if he sees all of this and just be like, I'm out of here. She got a whole lot going on. I'm getting out of here. But what God was showing me was that in submission, I had to be vulnerable. And I really had to trust that he had it. I saw how he took care of his family. I saw how he took care of his children. I saw that. And I had to recognize, you know what? God, if he's saying, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, that this is not a condition or term, if you down for like 1 or 2 weeks, we got this. If it's longer, whatever it takes, I just want you to be at your best. And so I had to be vulnerable and allow him to truly love me. Because if I had not released that and been vulnerable, I would not have experienced that love. He took good care of me and we were just dating. I mean, he was there in the morning bringing food. He cooked 3 times a day, coming from work, taking care of everything. I didn't miss a beat. Literally, he took care of me because I couldn't take care of myself. And I remember crying while I was sitting on the couch, and he had brought me some tea or something in my blanket. And he was like, well, what movie you want to watch tonight? And he sat there with me. And I knew he had been up all day. I knew he, was just ministering to everybody and doing everything and taking care of me and my kids. It was like, how is he doing all of this? And he never complained. I saw God through him. Who would not submit to a man like that? Who's going to make sure that I'm okay and put me as a priority even before we said I do. So I knew easily that in that vulnerability, God was showing me that when you say yes, submission starts right now in this moment, because he's already demonstrated God's love to you in a way that's undescribable, that was exaggerated. And so independent women, you will become vulnerable in those opportunities when you're saying yes and willingly submitting and finding that there's a blessing and a benefit to submitting.
All right. I gotta go in, but I'm gonna leave you with this, right? So the problem that we have with submitting in the dating phase is the fact that everyone now has their own agenda. They're telling you what a man's supposed to be like and what a woman's supposed to be like.
Come on.
And the problem is when you start telling people how they're supposed to react and how they're supposed to be, whether male or female, then we have a problem submitting to the other half, because now society has told the woman, you're independent. You can do what you want to. You don't need a man to do this. You don't need to do that. You can do it on your own. You're stronger than the man. You don't have to worry about that. On the flip side, they're telling men, you're masculine. You don't need help. You should be the one making all the changes, making all the decisions and setting it down. So it's a problem with submission because they have distorted so bad in today's society that people have a problem saying, I want to give myself to somebody, because again, they don't want to feel enslaved to be in a relationship. And so in saying that, we got to remember, we got to get back to the basics. When Adam was created,
here you go, Bishop.
Eve was created to help him.
Right.
Now, he had dominion, but not, he wasn't the slave master.
Right.
So they were to work together. Right. That's where the submission came in. Eve knew that, okay, this is the man that was given to me. I'm going to work alongside him. And Adam understood that I'm not the controller. I'm the work with her, right beside her. That's my take on this.
I love it.
I absolutely love it. Well, we have come to the top of the hour. Look at them all romancing and caring, all on the screen and whatnot. Lord, I tell you, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I know it was coming. But super excited about this dialogue.
He got to do ministry. I'm sorry, y'all.
Listen here. So super excited to have this discussion on tonight. We definitely don't want to prolong the hour for our live streaming, because we do have people who are on the platform on various sides of the world, and they are in different time zones. So we always want to be cognizant of that and respectful of the hour. So that is why we get off the live stream as quickly as possible, anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. But tonight we're going to go ahead and relinquish it at 1 hour. So we're super excited to have our live streaming audience that came in on tonight. LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and now Instagram. Our whole entire platforms were in the building on tonight. So welcome again to our live streaming audiences. Be sure that you connect with each and every one of these amazing thought leaders that were on the platform on tonight, and connect with them. Identify if they meet the need of something in your life. You can tell by the communication that they had in the discussion if they would be of value to you and your family. So hit them up, connect with them. When we're off the live stream, they will be putting their information in the chat so that you'll be able to connect with them directly on their various personal. Jason, can you on their various platforms so that you'll be able to connect with them for other products and services that they offer. They have a plethora and a wealth of knowledge to share with you and your family. So we're going to go ahead and take the conversation into Clubhouse for about 30 more minutes, and we'll be out of there for tonight. But again, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's edition of The Hot Seat. We'll be back on next Tuesday night, same bat time, same bat channel, for another intriguing, thought-provoking conversation about faith, family, fitness, and finance. Until then, grace, peace, and blessings be unto you and your entire household. And remember, this is the year of double shalom. And we will see you guys again next Tuesday, God willing. Good night, everybody.